Let's ask Google what the oil price will be, the prediction following the Iran war, and let's see if it's a good idea investing in oil, at least according to Google. So, thinking. So he's telling us that oil prices are experiencing extreme volatility. Wow, no, no wonder, Sherlock. With forecast suggesting a surge to 150 to $200 per barrel if the Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. It might remain blocked, at least for a while, potentially triggering a global recession. Yeah, that would be like a 50%, 100% compared to what we have today. And the Brent crude oil recently hit 116 per barrel, with risk of further increases as the war causes significant supply disruptions. Yeah, found I've read that there are like tens or maybe hundreds of oil tankers blocked there into the Strait of Hormuz with no way of getting out. They try to go through the strait, then Iran would start shooting off them. I mean, they've let out some oil tankers from Pakistan and India and I think probably China, the friendly states, but for sure anything that is associated with US or Israel would get shot and sunk. On the key price projections and impacts. Yeah, analyst industry executives suggest oil could hit 150 to $200. That would be a mess if the conflict continues into the summer. Well, at this point there is no end in sight, so we might have the conflict also in summer. Yeah, bummer. And then the Strait of Hormuz closure of this key narrow waterway. It's only 20-30 miles wide, so definitely tankers there would be like sitting ducks for the missiles. Handles 1/5 of the global oil supply. That's quite a lot. Short term versus long term, yeah, short terms there could still be some reserves. They can try to keep the price at around $100, more or less. But then if the war continues, we could probably hit this 150 to $200. The economic impact, yeah, of course, with a huge price, then we would have like supply chain problems, high energy cost, high recession risk, and all of that. Yeah. Key factors influencing price, they say: infrastructure risks. Growing risks of damage to energy infrastructure in the Middle East, including tanker traffic disruption, are pushing prices up. The market response, and there's an article here, likely driving the search for alternative energy sources. And of course, the airline impacts of jet fuel prices have already seen dramatic increases, with some reports showing them soaring to this 150 to $200 per barrel, forcing airlines to hike fares. So yeah, if you're traveling by air in the next period, yeah, could be rough. You could be paying a lot more. So it seems like yeah, this 150 to $200, it's like the common forecast here. If we say, let's say, can it go over 200 USD? Then let's say, based on the market analysis following the outbreak of the US-Israeli conflict with Iran on February 28, 2026, oil prices could potentially surge over $200 per barrel. So it would be basically double to what we have today. And they say if a conflict escalates into a prolonged total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. This appears to be a far-fetched scenario. Well, I don't know if it's that far-fetched because if you keep blocking like a fifth of the total oil supply, the price will continue to rise and rise. And yeah, depending on the other major oil producers, it could be that the prices will hike, especially when the major oil consumption countries finish their reserves. So I've read somewhere that China maybe has reserves for another 6 months or so, and China is a huge consumer of oil. So their whole economy, their whole ramping up economic growth is based on oil. And at the moment, China doesn't have a lot of oil. They do import oil from Russia. They have that land oil pipe, the power of Siberia, but only a part of the oil they need is purchased through that pipeline, and they're thinking of building a second one, so power of Siberia too. So, but this is still in planning, so it will probably take years. And yeah, if China needs oil now, they will be willing to pay the price, and they could hike prices up to 200 USD. We'll just see. And it's also funny that the sanctions on Russian oil have been periodically lifted. So, okay, we want to sanction the Russian oil, but not now. If oil gets too expensive, then we'll let our pal Vladimir make a download of money, just interim, of course. What are the key factors they say trying the potential oil to 200 plus? So of course the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, yeah, that's a no-brainer. It's a bottleneck for 1/5 of the global oil and gas supplies. Yeah, natural gas will also get a hike in price, and a sustained closure could strand up to 20 million barrels per day. Well, I mean, one of the options would be that the OPEC countries could probably increase production, but it's not in their best interest because, yeah, the ones that are not impacted by this blockade of the Strait of Hormuz are just gaining more and more profit by doing nothing. So why would they increase the production and get the price down? It benefits them to have the oil price as much as possible, especially since countries that are producing a lot of oil and exporting them have no problem on their local market. So it's not like I don't know, in Russia the price for oil or gas will get a lot higher. They just consume it from the internal reserves. So yeah, it's not a problem for them. However, for Europe, for China, for economies that use a lot of oil, it's tricky. So they say, yeah, destruction of energy infrastructure. Yeah, I think Trump is threatening with that for days now. But if Iranian export facilities such as this Karg Island, which is their main hub for exporting oil, is heavily damaged, and the Brent crude price could go over $200. Prolonged conflict duration, yeah, of course, as longer as it goes, it's harder to keep the price down. And inflation adjusted comparisons and price scenarios, yeah, 150 to 180, 110 to 120. So yeah, I think that all depends on how soon the war will end. We can just hope so.